Alright, so here we have a very fun matchup between myself as the High Elves, Game as also the High Elves, and Capo playing as the Dark Elves. Uh, and then on the other side, we've got another High Elf force, a Lizardmen force consisting of a heavy front line of Skinks. And then in the back, we have my buddy Justice locking it down with the Empire with his traditional Light Wizard, Jade Wizard build, and Franz on the mount. Initial volley is underway here. We have the Hellstorm rocket battery coming in and doing some absolutely massive damage to the front line of Capo. Capo recognizes this and starts moving up the left flank. In the meantime, Games starts to sneak up here and put a little bit of pressure on the Empire. He wants to, I think, snipe out these Demigryph Halberds, which is an absolutely excellent option if you can do it. They are heavily armored, so they're not going to take a ton of damage from the missile fire, but it's good to start working down those units early and as often as possible. Meanwhile, on this flank, you see the initial repeater bolt throwers getting in some action. I was able to hit some swordmasters with those opening volleys, which is very fortunate for me. And then I was also trying to take this Hellstorm rocket battery offline because that's a very expensive unit and can do a lot of work if left unchecked. One thing I want to note really quickly here, the Hellstorm rocket battery, if you take a look at it, it has a range of 480. In comparison, if you look at the Eagle Claw bolt thrower, it has a range of 380. So I think that one thing that's important during the deployment phase is you remember to put your Hellstorm rocket battery as far back as possible. And I think it should be sort of around here. The, in comparison, if you look at the Great Cannon, also range 450. So you can put the Great Cannon slightly in front of the Hellstorm rocket battery and then the Hellstorm rocket battery in the back. It's the most expensive and it also has the longest range. What on this side, we can see Capo's decided to start moving up his infantry because he was taking a lot of damage from the artillery fire. I think he was trying to use this piece of terrain to sort of block off the Great Cannon's line of sight while he advanced his forces. Unfortunately, his forces are very clumped up, and you can see here that there's a big vortex spell that's about to go down from, it looks like the Slann Mage Priest, and there it is. And that unit of Black Corsairs is offline. This one also offline off of one cast. This one also offline. So three. Oh my god, this banishment just keeps going and going. It roasted like 5 of Capo's units off of one cast. So that's pretty much the best illustration I can possibly show you of why you never ever want to clump your units up like that. On the other side, so the Skinks are coming in here. They're trying to engage my forces. I put the Swordmasters up front. They can dice up Skinks for days and days, no problems. The Spearmen are pulling back because that's not going to be so cost efficient for them. They can fight the Skinks if they need to, but really what I'm trying to do here is just put up a defensive front and really make sure that there's no way the Skinks are going to wrap around me and get their way into the bolt thrower. I do have Valerial the Radiant, but I'm not going to use her heals or any of her buffs against Skink Cohort because that would be a waste of Winds of Magic. While this is happening, the High Elves are sort of repositioning themselves. One unit I do have to watch out for is this Everqueen's Court Guards, so we'll see what role they play later in the fight. In the meantime, Game is deciding to move up. I think he's seen that the Skinks have moved, so he's going to try and push into the Saurus Spears and the Saurus Warriors. I think this is the right decision. I think probably it's something that could have happened a little bit earlier because aside from this one this one Reaper bolt thrower, there was really not any artillery worth protecting back here. And with only 2 units of Lothran Seaguard, you might as well advance right away because all of the killing power in Game's army is in these 4 units of Swordmasters. So they're going to make their way to the front line, and we'll see what kind of damage that they can do. Over here, the Slann Mage Priest is able to tie up Capo's forces with just a unit of Saurus Spears. Normally the Black Corsairs will cut through them with no problem, but with the shield of the old ones up, it's going to give them some time. Justice has charged his Demigryph Knights into these Black Corsairs. I think he's just trying to hit them with to break their leadership because it's pretty low right now. Normally that's not an optimal fight for the the demis, but in this case it's okay. Over here we have some dragon princes. Just got in a sneaky charge onto these sword masters, but I had to pull them out very quickly because the handmaiden was there along with Tyrion, who will absolutely cause a ton of damage to those dragon princes, especially with them backed up by these 2 spear units here. So I couldn't dally for very long. I did see the Ever Queen pull back, so I dropped 1 quick charge on the sword masters, which was nice. I mean, the sword masters don't have anti-large, and you can look, that charge alone dropped about 25% off the sword masters, so that was a good trade. This swords with shields were not braced at the time, so they weren't able to sort of block that dragon prince charge. But again, I have to be careful because every time I do those charges, even if I do a lot of damage, these Evergreen Court Guard are going to be looking to put as much damage into those dragon princes as possible. These sword masters, I mean, you look, they've got a lot of HP damage, but they're still at 99 models out of 100. So, you know, they're going to still be able to put in a lot of work against these spearmen. So Ilariel's coming over to help out as much as she can, but there's clearly a lot more resources dedicated to this flank by the High Elves, and there's no way I can hold for very long. I mean, Ilariel's got a token heal in here, but basically I'm going to have to fall back and surrender this flank. The Dragon Princes do try and help out the Bolt Thrower here. You know, it's sort of too late for the Bolt Thrower with the Ever Queen's Court Guard and the Flamespire Phoenix. I mean, there was no way it was going to hold. But if I can put in a little bit of damage to this Flamespire Phoenix, that should be helpful. I have no idea why it's getting the proc for Stand Your Ground because it's so far away from Tyrion right now. Tyrion's all the way over here. Maybe he smashed it earlier and then it flew over, so it just kept the buff, but yeah. Okay, so let's see what's going on over here. So game's got some Swordmasters into the Sora Spears, which is a pretty nice place for them to be. And it looks like he's minced through these Soras as well. However, in the back, you've got the Overwatch from these 2 cannons. This is, yeah, 2 cannons. That is just pouring into the Swordmasters as they fight these chaff infantry up front. There's also this unit of silver bullets, which is ready to start blasting into the Swordmasters as soon as they get the opportunity. The good news for us is that the Hellstorm Rocket Battery has fled from the field, and all of the cannons are looking like they're still online, but the crew's taken some damage in their routing, so that's a positive. Over here, Knight Assassin, very cool pick. You don't see it too often. It looks like it's shooting into some sort of spears right now, which is, again, not optimal. I think it came over here initially to target that Slann Mage Priest, but the Slann Mage Priest looks like it snuck away without the Assassin being able to do too much. The Assassin did pop the Dark Venom, which is very, very useful, but I think it's a skill that you want to use when you're in close combat with the Priest. You can see the Priest does have the Assassin's Trophy on it, but it's created so much distance between itself and the Assassin that it's not helping at all. So the Slann Mage Priest comes in here like a true hero and just tries to tie up the Swordmasters and give these silver bullets time to do their job. The Swordmasters of Hoeth, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of this unit in general. They are able to kill stuff when they're fighting, but they're only good at fighting infantry. They're kind of slow, and their leadership is terrible. So if they take any damage before they get to the front line, it's not hard to, you know, hit them with a rear charge or you know, send in some fear or terror, and then before you know it, you have a 1300 gold unit that's just running away. That said, we do have some Swordmasters over here that sort of are in their element, which is, you know, spears, and more spears, and they're gonna get a ton of kills. They're already 110, and that's climbing up really well. This unit over here is finished cutting up a ton of skinks, and they're at 350 with a lot of a lot of battle left to be had. Over here, the repeater bolt thrower has tried to reposition because it had no line of sight when it was down here. So it's curled up the side, but that's a lot of time wasted sort of repositioning. And now, because it had to reposition, it's so close to this front line that it's not going to be very effective. So a bit of a misplay by myself there, but just pointing out some mistakes so that maybe someone else can learn from my misadventures. Over here, the Dragon Princes are still looking around for a pocket to attack in. I think they're going to have a hard time here because everything is so densely packed. At this point, maybe they would have been better to slip up here and try and put some pressure on the back line, or just help these Swordmasters break through, because this flank, it's very pitched, and it's unlikely that I will be able to win it alone, because I've already... Not only am I fighting the entire high elf force here, but I've also had to deal with a lot of skinks coming in and just kind of slowing things down for me. Over here, Franz is doing his thing. He's taking some shots from the high elves, but if you look, it's very easy for him to kite out of it with Foe Seeker, and also he still has this Jade Wizard here who can pop the heals onto him whenever he takes some damage. Game, however, has done the right thing here. He's found the Jade Wizard with his Noble, and he's made his way in there to attack it. So that's a really good position for the Jade Wizard. The Light Wizard here looks like it's been caught up in some Black Ark Corsairs, so this is a bit of a dangerous situation here for Justice. But recognizing this, Franz comes to the rescue of his Jade Wizard buddy, and if this Noble were to get netted by the Light Wizard, which is over here, I know it's a little bit far, but if it were, then it would be in a very difficult situation. And even this Slann Mage Priest can come over and help a little bit, put some buffs on Franz. There's a lot of options here when the Noble's not supported. So the Swordmasters on this side are doing pretty well. They found their way into the Scions of Mathlan. Those guys won't be long in this world. Meanwhile, the Dragon Princes are trying to find these Everqueen Court Guard, but the Everqueen Court Guard are staying very close to these units of spears, which is making it very difficult for me to find a position where I can attack. So I have to keep moving them around. The only good thing about this is, at least because they're constantly moving, they're not firing. So it's better than nothing. It looks like, I mean, at this point, this is just a slogfest. There's not a lot of tactics going on here, but I'm okay with this because Ilariel has some very good AoE heals, like Earthblood and what's it called again? No, it's this one here, Star of Avalorn. So if I can get those AoE heals in, I'm gonna be able to fight for a little bit longer, I think, than Tyrion is going to be able to keep his troops fighting. So Franz is taking more and more damage from these Corsairs and other sort of anti-air units, but he does a good job of kiting it out. Maybe these archer units, instead of trying to shoot Franz, they would be better off focusing down on the Slann Mage Priest. And the reason for that is, if you look at Franz, he's got 130 armor, and he's been buffed with Faw's protection. So I mean, this is a very hard target to shoot down with non-armor piercing missiles, especially when Justice does such a good job of kiting back and forth with it. And he has the heals of the Light Mage to also pump it up. Instead, if you look at the Slann Mage Priest, you've got a target with low mobility, armor of only 45, and so it's a much better target if you can reach him to be shooting him here. The assassin, I mean, I think he's had time. He should be really chasing the Slann Mage Priest as much as possible, or finding his way to this wizard, or this wizard, just trying to do as much damage as he can here. But we'll see how this plays out. Now, over here, there's a little bit of clumping up going on by game, so this is a bad situation for the High Elves with respect to the artillery. Yes, they'll be able to probably clear out these skink cohorts, but if Justice is aware of this, he can probably hit 3 or 4 High Elf units with each volley. And these units are already pretty low on leadership, so there's a good chance that they'll just break off and rout entirely. The Swordmasters, it looks like they've been killed off. And at this point, that's really bad news for the High Elves, because now they have nothing to really push through these spearmen and make their way into the artillery in the back. Over here, Dragon Prince is still trying to do their best to get into these archers, but the Flamespire's Phoenix is absolutely frustrating the hell out of them by interrupting their charges. And again, every time I do get in a charge, here's a pretty nice one. It's hard for me to stay in combat for long because usually there's spears to help out. In this case, I am able to, I think, finally break the Ever Queen's Court Guard. They're down to 37, and they've only got 6 kills, so I guess I've done an okay job of keeping them out of the fight. But I really have no answers for Tyrion at this point in time. I can't take him in combat with Ariel. He's not going to die to any of these infantry here. Maybe the Dragon Princes could give him a go with Ariel's support, but in general, it's just a very hard fight for me, and I don't have any answers right now. The Flamespire Phoenix as well, same thing. I don't have enough to deal with it right now in terms of anti-air. I've got like maybe 1 unit of Sea Guard here, but they're very low on ammo, so that's a very problematic situation for me. And again, another hero, Handmaiden of the Everqueen. So all of these heroes are sort of trouble for me. So it looks like Game has repositioned his IL forces. He's got a nice little firing pocket here, and at this point he was able to sort of use those archers to outrange the silver bullets and get them to break, which is very nice for the High Elves. The Slann Mage Priest is able to keep these forces locking down Capo's remaining forces here. I don't know what happened to Lokir Felhart. I'm not sure about that. But the Empire troops are, the last of the Chaff Empire troops are starting to buckle. Some very low sword spears with leadership. So probably this fight is going to turn in the favor of the Dark Elves, but I think that it's bought enough time for the artillery that it was still sort of a win for the Empire overall and the Lizardmen. All of the key units of the Empire, the 2 Jade Wizards, the Jade Wizard, the Light Wizard, and the key units for the Lizardmen, the Slann Mage Priests, are still online. The artillery is online. Over here, a few more developments. Got a nice rear charge in with these Dragon Princes. That was able to buckle 3 units. The archers are running for the hills, but same story. Alariel running from Tyrion and the Flamespire Phoenix. And the Handmaiden of the Everqueen. She's popped Faw's Protection just to keep her alive as possible. So things are looking up a little bit on this flank at this point for me, but there's still a lot going on. And now that the High Elf sort of army, all the high value targets are gone, and the threat really from the Dark Elf is just down to these few units of Blackguard of Nagrand, which are slow enough that, you know, most of this can be kited out. Justice has started turning his artillery over to shoot on me, which is, I guess, probably the last big remaining threat. We'll see if the Noble and these High Elf spears can push up and take out these artillery pieces. I mean, they are in a good position. Capo is coming in here with the Blackguard, so you know, Justice is running out of real estate, and if they can take these cannons online, that could shift the balance bar in our favor a lot. It's a very close fight. Now, this is an absolutely key engagement. There's you know, the balance bar is very tight. You've got Franz coming over here. He's trying to take out this last little bit of leadership from the High Elves. And if he can get this noble off, there's a good chance that the rest of this is going to break. Recognizing this, a great play from the High Elf player. They come over here. They're also trying to kill this noble because they're having a hard time catching Alariel, and everything else over here is pretty much falling apart. So absolutely the right decision by the other team to focus on this pocket over here. Meanwhile, again, Justice very smartly, instead of shooting in here where he might hit his high value heroes and things like that, he's continued to shoot at the large infantry blob that's advancing sort of over here. Maybe blob's not the right term, but the large concentration of infantry. They are, you know, they're wide, but they're probably still not as spread out as they should be. I think maybe I was rushing over there to help out a little bit. And you can see that with the noble gone, the last, I guess, resistance has completely crumbled from the High Elf perspective. The Canine Assassin is kind of in a good place. Like maybe he can get over to Slann Mage Priest, but there's just so much around him here that he's gonna have a hard time positioning himself to where he wants to be. The Black Guard have been surrounded, and they were low enough on leadership that they finally gave up. So here comes the final engagement. It's down to this bolt thrower. I think is out of ammo. I'm looking to see if the machines are still here. I don't see them, but anyways, they're not going to be helping out in the fight anymore. I do have a few sort of tattered units here and there that can maybe help out, and you know, game will rally a little bit here, but the final engagement, it's going to be right down here towards this artillery. Dragon Princes are doing what they can to get in there, but all it takes is one net of Ammontok from the Light Wizard, and that's going to be a really sad situation for me. Franz is trying to get in there and slow up these Dragon Princes. But he's going to have a hard time pinning them in place without that net of Ammontok. Canine Assassin, I guess he's trying to shoot Franz, but again, that's pretty high armor target, and the Slann Mage Priest would have been the better target to go at. Oh, he's switched over here to the Jade Wizard. Okay, not so bad, but again, with two mages, if you kill one of the mages, it's not, you know, too devastating. And again, instead of shooting it, I probably would have just tried to rush into combat for that extra damage. So Shield of the Old Ones is popped. This is a great buff to sort of keep those low leadership Empire troops fighting. That +8 leadership is very helpful for these units. But at the end of the day, I mean, these High Elf forces are just too strong. So we're getting down to hero battle time. There's not really any frontline troops left for the other team. The Blackguard have rallied. Assassin's low on ammo. Oh, it looks like he's maybe found his way onto the old one. Yeah, there he is. Onto the Slann Mage Priest. There he goes. So Mage Priest is really low now. So I think that's a good decision. And the Blackguard are going in there, and they're a little love tap in the back. And the Slann Mage Priest is gone. So we've got Franz, Tyrion, and versus Alariel, a whole bunch of infantry, and that's about it at this point. There is a noble, there is an assassin floating around. The Dragon Princes have done a ton of work, but at this point, you know, they're probably exhausted. They are, and they're down to 33 models. So that martial prowess is long gone. They're pretty tired, and Franz, it's sort of his time to shine. So Alariel is looking to find a place where she can be useful. She sees some low leadership sort of spears. Oh, let's see if she attacks. No. Yeah, there she goes. So is she going to be able to break them? No, the Sword Spears are holding tight, which is very helpful for Franz. With the terror going down, these spearmen and swordmasters are starting to waver and break. And those Sword Spears, you know, it's only 13 of them, but they are absolutely helping this pocket just stay up and resist. The nobles head for the hills. Um, the silver bullets are firing their last volleys here into, I'm assuming, the Black Guard. Uh, the assassin is trying to finish off the Slann Mage Priest once and for all, and let's see if he can do it. There we go. He goes into melee, and congrats to Capo. He got his man. Lizard Boy is no more. So can this Canine Assassin find another high value target? I mean, he's done a good job. The wizards are almost gone. Can find Tyrion? Can he find this handmaiden? Can he find Franz? Everyone, all of these heroes are doing everything they can to take these last units of Dragon Princes off the field, which for me would be devastating because that would mean that I lose all of my mobility. At this point, Alariel is pretty much out of Winds of Magic, so I don't have too many more options for healing those Dragon Princes and keeping them online. So it's going to be tough for me to sort of resist all of these cycle charges. I do have a couple of spearmen here, but Tyrion's Sunfang now has the unlimited procs, so if I ball up too much, I'm going to get just repeatedly hit with that. The Flamespire Phoenix, I've done a ton of damage on it, and it's so low, but I don't know if it was earlier in the fight or if we're going to see it shortly, but it did boost itself all the way up to full health, and that was absolutely devastating for our chances of winning. So Flamespire Phoenix, very sneaky unit, very flexible, super fast, can get that healing burst just like Tyrion. And late game, you know, if things get too clumped up, it can drop some bombs. So here at this point, I mean, we have lost the mobility advantage, so I think we have no choice but to turtle. There's no mages on the field that are going to make us pay for clumping up. I don't. It's very rare that a Jade Wizard would take the Earth Below, and yeah, he didn't bring it. And so the only thing that can hurt us from clumping is Tyrion's Sunfang. So I'm doing sort of bringing all my troops as close as possible to games. Lothar and Seaguard, trying to engage with them. Here the Seaguard probably could have you know, spread out before attacking, but I guess they figured they weren't long for this world with Franz and everything else around, so they just wanted to get in as much work as they could. The Assassin has found his way onto is he on Tyrion or the Ever Queen, the Handmaiden? I believe it's the Handmaiden. So it's a great place for him to be on the hero. Unfortunately, it is a 2v1 situation, and I don't have any other duelist that can really support this Canine Assassin. And here, maybe it was not on guard mode or whatnot. It was getting pulled away a little bit. I think Capo recognized that, pulled the Assassin back over here. At this point, the Assassin is probably our only hope of winning this this battle. So here he goes. Finds his way onto Franz, and there goes a last Earthblood from myself, just on all of my clump units. But the leadership is so low, even with the Earthblood triggered, it's probably not going to be there in time. And yeah, there it is, Flamespire Phoenix. It just popped up to full health. That completely just secured the game, I think, for their team. So there's no guarantee that it's going to go up to full health. But if it's I don't know if it's like an 80-90% chance. If it does go up to full health, I mean, that could be game changing. If it didn't go up to full health, well, then we might have had a chance. We've got an assassin here. Franz is pretty low. I'm pretty sure that, you know, the Empire's used all their Winds of Magic, or at the very least this Jade Wizard is also low, so maybe it could have turned the battle. But at this point, I think it's just too much, too little, too late. So I'll fast forward this, end it. You'll see some heroic cycle charging action, and Justice doing exactly what he should do, pulling his Franz in and out and hitting again and again and again. I think it would be good to see a little bit more of that from the Flamespire Phoenix, but again, at this point, it doesn't matter. So, great game, very well played, super fun, and let's go to the kill screen. So, starting with Game Master, got some good work on these Sword Masters of Hoeth. They found their way into the Sora's front lines, and they were definitely in their element there. The unfortunate thing for them is because they're slow and the artillery was able to fire the whole time that they were engaged, they were not able to make it to the back line. And the silver bullets were able to sort of finish them off as they pushed up. Capo, very cool. I'm sorry I missed what happened to Lokir Felhard. I'd be curious. Maybe I'll watch the game again and post in the comments section what happened to Felhard. Actually, same thing with Teclis. So those two heroes were taken offline, but the assassin, I think he could have gone into melee on a few targets a bit earlier, but he did eventually sort of pay his dividends. So very cool pick. You don't see it often, but it can be very useful. I do think Capo would benefit from bringing a mage, and I also think that the huge vortex spell from the Slann Mage Priest absolutely devastated his army right at the beginning. So unfortunately, those Corsairs, which would have been really valuable against those Empire State troops and certainly against all of those skinks, they never got a chance to really reach their potential. There's 2 units here with 0 kills, which is really unfortunate. And then for myself, I think it was a very tough battle. I was able to get some value out of the Swordmasters. This unit had 500 kills, which is enormous. But I mean, a lot of those were against skinks. So, you know, let's keep this in perspective. But still, they did what they were supposed to do for the most part. The Dragon Prince is also chevroned up from getting a lot of cycle charges in. But as we saw in the late game, I didn't have anything that could really deal with heroes when you know, leadership was low. So maybe if I had taken a noble, that would have helped me keep Tyrion honest when he was sort of in the middle of the troops, or I would have had something to help out against that Flame Spire Phoenix, which was able to sort of harass me unchecked. With only 1 unit of Lothran Seaguard, I was not able to really give it any type of aerial pressure. And the bolt throwers, like I said earlier, I don't think I deployed them in the right place. They would have been better up sort of on the hill, maybe behind Capo, and then I could have worked over on Justice. So Deludo, huge 400 win magic spell, whatever, tons of kills on the Slann Mage Priest, and then everything else was just sort of buying time for the Empire artillery. So great synergy. He kept his Slann Mage alive for most of the game, which is usually the challenge when you put this mage on the toilet seat. So good job to Duo. Europe over here, very interesting balanced comp. He totally kept my hands full on the right flank. I did eventually break, you know, the core of his army, but with his elite heroes, he had Tyrion, the Handmaiden, and the Flamespire. It was very hard for me to pressure him out at the end. And the Justice was sort of the anchor of that team's back defense. He had all of the cannons, which got a lot of value on the high cost Dark Elf and High Elf infantry. So I think those are factions that are especially vulnerable to artillery fire. So Justice got a lot of value out of that, and he managed to keep all of his heroes up and operational. And if you look at, you know, where he took his damage, it was mostly with his Empire State troops, which is exactly what you want for the Empire army. That's what's designed to basically absorb the damage. So great job, very fun game, and I'm sure we'll post another game soon. Thanks, bye.